Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Lee Cara. This is Unleash Your Light right here at the Akashic Academy. I hope this is my second try. Had some technical difficulties and I was not broadcasting live. So let's take a moment and make sure that I'm live, guys. I'm also going to take a moment, there I am, and invite a few of my friends. I hope that you will do the same. Let's see here. Now, we have a great show today. I'm going to be talking, good morning, Krista. I'm going to be talking about anger. And anger is something that you don't hear. Good morning, Crystal. Good morning, Rena. Anger is something that you don't hear a lot of people in the spiritual community talk about. Good morning, Elisa. Oh, I'm so glad I got it to work. Good morning, Marina. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Please take a moment, share out with your friends, send it in a message. Whether you're the person who gets too angry or gets angry too fast, the person who holds a grudge, maybe you're the person who can't deal with anger from other people. That's me. I have a very hard time not only dealing with other people's anger, but expressing my own anger. I have a really hard time with that. That's something that I'm working on. I'm not sure if it's your internet or not. I hope not, Rena. I know you have a show later. Rena comes on after me at noon. Oh, that's perfect, Krista. You know what's interesting, Krista, is that I find that these topics kind of go like waves through the spiritual community. And it's almost like steps that we need to go through, like literal physical steps that the universe, God, whatever you like to call the higher power, keeps sending us these messages in steps, because you'll hear like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different people doing shows on the same topic. And it's not because we all coordinate with each other. Or you'll be having something happen in your life or a conversation that ties right into something that you need to see. It's so amazing how that works, right? Yeah, collective clearing. Oh, I love that phrase. That's awesome. All right, so I hope that you shared out with a few of your friends. I definitely shared with a few of mine. And let's go. This is a tough one, you guys. Again, I keep doing these shows where I tell you, something I say like puts you off or makes you angry or triggers you, save the show. Save the show. Welcome, Liz. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Save the show, because if it triggers you, if it upsets you, if it makes you feel something strong, that's an unhealed place in you. Not to say that I'm right about your point of view, but just to say that's something I need to look at. Everybody's journey is different, right? Everybody's journey is tailored for the path that they are on based on their own purpose, as well as the life that they have lived, the life that you've lived. So your journey is going to be different than my journey. Your struggles are going to be different than my struggles in some way, right? Good morning, Shayna. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Shayna. So your struggles might be a little different than other people's struggles. And yet, here on this planet, we share a piece of the same energy, right? Every person has that divine energy, that divine being inside of them. Good morning, Jennifer. And we also share that we're all human. We also share that we all are human and we all have human emotions, okay? So the fact that we all share humanity and human emotions, and on top of that, that collective connection, we are a piece of the other person, and the other person is a piece of us, right? Because we're all coming from the cosmic soup. I don't know if you guys see it, but I keep having these little orbs behind me today. Pretty cool. It's not a bug, I promise. So the fact that we share all of these things makes our journeys similar as they are different. It makes the journeys that we take together as similar as they are different. Even though it is an individual journey for you, we share. Okay, Shauna. Oh, I'm so sorry it's not loading for you. Good morning, Sherry Lynn. Oh, summer solstice. Thank you. Is that today? Is it today or tomorrow? It might be today. You're right. Oh my goodness. Yes. Happy summer solstice. All you people out there who use that for rituals and invocations and all your little things that you do. I do something too, so I should have been paying attention. May they all go well. So mote it be, right? So I hope that everyone is ready for this talk about anger, because it's an emotion that we all share, right? And yet it's that emotion that nobody wants to talk about. Nobody wants to address it, especially in the spiritual community. So many of us in this community stick our heads in the sand. We stick our heads in the sand and we don't deal with those things or those people who either make us angry or who get angry at us. We don't deal with looking at things that make us angry, right? I know probably hundreds of you out there won't watch the news or won't watch TV, right? Oh, I know. I didn't give him any catnip today before the show. Bad mommy, bad kitty mommy. So many of us have turned off the news. We've turned off what's going on in the world. We don't want to look at it, right? Because it makes us angry. It makes us feel something that we don't like to feel as the spiritual community. It makes us look face to face at something negative, or those people in your life that make you angry are forcing you to look at something negative. And people don't, oh, sorry, Rena, there's another one. Maybe it's me. I don't know. And people don't like that. People, especially in the spiritual community, don't like to deal with anger or negative people or negative situations. And of course, there's nothing wrong with not wanting to deal with that. Who does? Good morning, Rudolph. Who does? Who wants to deal with something negative? Who wants to deal with an angry person? Who wants to get angry themselves? Nobody. And yet, it is such an important part of what we go through on our journey. And you can learn so much from anger. You can learn from the anger, okay? And it's a hard thing to do because anger is one of those emotions, I call them the primal emotions, that's right in the front of our existence, right? Because it comes from all those things we've been through and all those places that we've been and all of those experiences that we've had that hurt us. Anger is a symptom. Anger is not the actual emotion. Hi, Kirath, welcome. Anger is not the actual emotion. Yes, it's an emotion, but it's built from our pain. It's created from the suffering that we've been through. And the way that we get angry and how we deal with it is individual to each one of us. The anger is a symptom of something deeper, of an experience that's deeper, of an emotion that's deeper in your core. Usually fear of some kind is what sparks anger. Usually fear or lack, looking at something and feeling like I'm going to lose it. Hello, Natalie. That's the fear. Anger comes from frustration, right? What's the frustration? What's under that anger? What's under that frustration? I'm not being heard, right? I'm not valid. I don't matter because nobody's listening. They don't understand. It's that fear. Anger is a symptom of something deeper. Well, then, Dida, you're in the right place, aren't you? Anger is a symptom of something deeper that's not healed in you. And what happens, good morning, Ashley. Good morning, Christy. What happens is that when something happens that makes us angry, it takes us back to a time when we felt the same way. I talked about this on my show Thursday when I sat on my couch, and it's in my book, which is free on my website, unleashyourlight.org. I'll put the link up in here. Wait, we'll do this real quick. It's on my website. It's called Simple Spirituality of Self, and you can time travel backwards in your life through these vines that are created from these traumatic things that happen to us, or these tiny things that happen to us that we create more out of. Okay. So you can time travel backwards through that by thinking about that when you're angry. All right. So when you get angry, the first thing you want to do is one of the steps from Unleash Your Light, ignore your feelings, but just in the moment. Okay. We don't want to take that anger out on the other person. Last week, I talked about your truth and accountability and how they fit together, and how even in the moments when we're speaking our truth, which getting angry, we feel like we're really speaking our truth, right? Even in those moments, we have to be mindful of how that affects the other person. Not that we shouldn't speak our truth, but that we still can speak our truth in a way that is compassionate and has empathy. And if you're not in a mental place when you're speaking your truth, maybe in anger, where you can speak clearly without injuring, insulting, hurting the other person purposely, don't express your anger to them in that moment. Walk away. And that's a hard thing to do because you want to get your point out. You want to get it across. You need the other person to understand. They have to listen to you right now because you need them to hear this. Totally understandable. Absolutely. This is not an easy thing. But if instead you can literally say, I'm really heated. I'm going to say something that I'm going to regret right now. As much as I want to solve this, I need to take 2 minutes to go and calm myself down so we can have a discussion. Right? This is if you're the one that's angry. We're going to talk about the other side in just a minute. Good morning, Teresa. Yes, I'm just like you, taking it out on myself. So we're definitely going to get to that. So if you are in that moment where you are angry and you want to lash out, first of all, know that anger is the symptom of something deeper. Anger is the symptom of a deeper emotion. If somebody else makes you angry, it's reminding you of a time that somebody made you feel less than, made you feel like you were going to lose something, made you feel, sad, made you feel something, not anger. So you can time travel backwards just by thinking about that what's under the anger? What's the core base of this? Am I upset because I think I'm going to lose their love? Am I angry because they're not listening to me? When was the last time that I felt like I wasn't heard? And you go backwards, and you go backwards, and you go backwards. And people will say, and people in this community, even, I don't mean the Akashic Academy, but I mean in general, people in the spiritual community will say, don't look backwards. Don't look at those things that hurt you. Don't go back on those traumatic events. Those are in the past and you can't change them. You may not be able to change them in the physical, in the 3D, in the actual events of what physically happened. However, when you time travel back to these moments, all time happens all the time. And you can affect your perspective of those events. You can affect your feelings about that event because it's not the actual event that you're holding on to. It's how that event made you feel, because it's emotions that we cling to. It's not the little actual events that happened. And if you're unsure about that, think back to something that happened 4 years ago, just something that happened that was unemotional. And then think back to something that happened to you when you were 7 or 8 years old that really hurt your feelings. You're going to remember that thing, those feelings more than you're going to remember that trivial thing that happened a couple years ago, or even an important event that was all joyful. You're going to remember the painful thing more. Yay, Rena! You're going to remember that painful thing more. It's just the way that we're wired. And I believe it's because that's the thing we're supposed to be healing. There's always more joy, but that pain is limited and you can get rid of it. So you time travel backwards, and I've talked about this like 100 times, but you time travel backwards to that event, that thing that created that emotion, either feeling lack of love, feeling fear, feeling like you're not heard, whatever it is, right? And you go all the way back to that emotion. Thanks, Teresa. You go all the way back to that emotion, and you have 3 steps of forgiveness. You forgive. First, you sit down with that little kid and you comfort that little kid. That's you. in whatever event happened, or that person that's being hurt. You comfort them just like you were there. And you say, no, 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 everything is fine. And you hug yourself. And I know that it hurts. They're not trying to hurt you. You use empathy about what the other person is doing, because they're probably not lashing out at you because of you. They're lashing out at you because of their own pain. Then that person that lashed out at you, you give them a hug. You love them. You put your arms around them. You say, I forgive you for acting this way towards me. You didn't know that it would cause me this much pain that I would hold on to for such a long time. Then you turn around. This is the third step that a lot of people don't do. You turn around to your grown self, the observer, watching this scene and figuring this out. And you give yourself a hug. And you say to yourself, I forgive you. I forgive you for letting this moment stick in our head and hurt us for so many years. I forgive you for not getting over this. I forgive you for not even remembering that this was here. I forgive you and I love you and you matter, or whatever your issue is. And you give yourself a hug. That's time traveling in the moment. And it affects the entire timeline. It doesn't change what happened in the physical, but it changes how we see it. Our visualizations are so powerful because we have that power of manifestation. We have that power of creation, right? So when you find those moments in yourself, you go right back to them and you rewrite the ending. It's your movie. It's your movie. You rewrite that ending and you figure that out. If you feel like something when you were a little kid was your fault, logically, when you're grown up, like you know that daddy didn't leave because you didn't clean your room. But when you go back to that moment and you talk to that little kid and you forgive that little kid and you forgive your father, and then you forgive your grown self for going, this was completely illogical to think it was my fault for the last 35 years that my daddy left, or however long it's been, and you give yourself a hug, it shifts the narrative in your head. And you might have to do it over and over again. You might have to go back to these places because that anger, that frustration, that sadness, the emotions behind the anger, they hide. Anger is one of the places that they hide, because there are experiences in your life that all you have to do is think about them, and that anger rises right to the surface, doesn't it? It comes up so quickly. You know what it's doing? It's protecting you. That anger is protecting you and giving you a feeling of strength in moments that you feel weak. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know what's up with Be Live this morning. I had a hard time even getting on. So that anger is protecting you in that moment that it comes up in the memory, because it keeps you from feeling weak. And too many of us see vulnerability as weakness. We see that sadness or that loss or that fear as weakness. So this is if you're the person who gets angry at other people. This is a good way. Oh, there was another orb. Did you see it? This is a good way to go back into your past, into yourself, to do that journey, that spiral journey into yourself, so that you can continue to expand and so that you can continue to learn from what's going on in your life. Okay. Now I'm at the other end of the spectrum. I almost never get angry. Almost never, at least prior to me and my spiritual growth over the last couple of years. Mostly the last year I've been able to address getting angry. I was always taught, and I don't know how many of you were taught this, that good little girls, or good little boys, I wasn't a little boy, but good little girls don't get angry. Good little girls don't stomp their feet and get mad. Good little girls don't raise their voice. Good little girls do what they're told, whether they want to or not. I wasn't allowed to be angry in my household. You weren't allowed to express anger or frustration with what the parents were saying to us. And I always tried to get approval, so I just figured out how not to do that. Even as a little child, they said even as a 2 and 3 year old child, I didn't throw temper tantrums. I didn't get angry. I didn't scream and yell. And the few times that I did, I would get spanked. My mother would take away her love and ignore me. So I figured out how not to get angry. But you know what happens? Because anger is a symptom, right? It's a symptom. of a deeper emotion didn't stop me from having those deeper emotions. What it did was anger would manifest in self-hatred, in self-loathing. Rather than get angry at the other person, I would take it out on me. There's obviously something wrong with me if this person is angry at me. Even if I had done nothing, there's obviously something wrong with me. It's obviously me. And I took that out on myself. I was a cutter right up into my 40s till I was 43 years old. I turned 48 next month. P.S. So I was a cutter right up into my 40s, 42. I took it out on myself. I hated myself. And it built walls and walls and walls of self-hatred every time that something happened when I should have expressed my emotions. I didn't necessarily have to use anger to express them, but it's from those moments. Good morning, Stephanie. It's from those moments that are the symptoms that lie underneath of the anger. And I didn't even know how to get angry at someone else and let them know in any way, whether it was screaming and yelling at them or whether it was having a conversation with them. It took me years to even get to the point where I could have that conversation with someone about my anger, but I never called it anger. I would say I was hurt. I would use the emotions underneath, but it was anger because I would be fuming inside. Oh, thank you. I would be fuming inside. I would feel this emotion that I didn't know how to process, and I definitely didn't know how to let out. Just in this past year, to share my own personal journey, just in this past year, I've been going through I've been separated for like 2 years, but physical separation from my husband of 20-something years. Husband. I'll put him in quotes. And so we have these disagreements now, long distance, where I get angry. I get angry at his behavior and his choices, and I don't have any right to say anything to him about him or to express that unless it deals with our children, right? So I didn't know what to do with this. I didn't even, and it was one of those things that because there wasn't anyone here for me to hide that from, for me to be worried about losing that love, because for me, that's always, that emotion of anger was always, I'm going to lose their love. They're not going to love me. They're not going to be my friend. They're not going to like me. They're not going to be my mom anymore. They're not going to be my family. They're going to walk away, which is a pattern that happens in my family. And I would be in this place here alone where I was free to express that anger, where I was free to explore those emotions of loss and the way that anger would make me feel, because I don't even like holding that energy of that. I didn't even know what to do. Hi, Fiona, welcome. I didn't even know what to do with it. It felt so foreign. It was like physical pain. And I was like, I was literally having a conversation with some of my friends, like, I don't know why I feel this way. What is this? And my friend said to me, Lee, it's called righteous anger. You have a right to be angry about what's going on in your life. You can feel that. Anger is an emotion that we're allowed to feel. He said, you are allowed to feel angry. You're even allowed to yell. You should take some time and scream and yell about it. Cry about it. Punch something. Do something productive to get rid of your anger. Maybe you guys have something that you do. I'd love for you to put it in the comments because a lot of other people will be watching this over the next couple of days. Maybe your method will help them. I didn't even know what that felt like to hold anger and to just stay angry, because I always immediately had that duality of, I'm going to forgive them. They're not doing it because they're trying to hurt me. They're only doing it because they're in pain. I would immediately forgive them, and then I would turn it on myself. So I had to change the steps of how I dealt with that as I discovered my own voice in anger. As I discovered my own anger that had been pent up inside of me for 47 years. It's a very strange thing to hold an emotion in you that you don't quite get. It feels very similar to that emotion of loving yourself when you don't know how. And you finally start doing it and you're like, is this really what this feels like to love yourself? Is this how I'm supposed to feel? That's how I was with anger. Maybe some of you guys are the same way. Mothers tend to be in this place sometimes where we're martyrs, right? And we don't allow our anger to come out, and we don't allow anyone to see that we're hurting, and we don't allow those things to just happen. So I always turn my anger inwards, and I didn't even know how to feel it pushing it outwards. Anger is an emotion best expressed in privacy, I feel. But to let someone know that they made you angry in a calm way, feeling anger and being able to speak on it in a calm way, that's a gift. That's a skill. That's something you have to practice, something you have to learn to do. There you go. Sherry Lynn's got a good one. Because like I said last week, we are still accountable for the way that we express our personal truth. And so we want to make sure that we are expressing our personal truth in a way that is productive for both sides, in a way that finds solutions. Yes, Anina, it'll be right here on the page. So you'll be able to go back and watch it. I'll be signing off here. I started about 10 minutes late, so I'm going to stay on for an extra 10 minutes. One of the things that I always said in arguments, and part of it was to cover up that I didn't know how to get angry, but one of the things I used to say in arguments or debates, I don't like to call them arguments because it implies that I'm angry. See, I wouldn't even admit that I was angry about a disagreement. We're having a disagreement. We're having a debate. We're having a discussion. I wouldn't even allow the word argument into the situation because of the negative connotations with anger. Like I was so anti anything that showed that. But one of the things that I always used to say is that when we're having a disagreement, when we're having an argument, I'll say it now, when we're having an argument, I want you to agree with me, or I want you to see my side. So why am I going to say things that make you angry and piss you off and put you in a mindset of not thinking? It doesn't make sense in the situation where you're trying to find a solution to an issue, to make the other person feel horrible so that they shut down. So when I would have these discussions or arguments, I would always say, that's off limits. I put that as a ground rule for arguing with my spouse at the time, for arguing with my friends. It's a ground rule. I'm never trying to hurt you. So I know it feels good sometimes to lash out and say something that hurts the other person when they've hurt you. I know that because those thoughts come right to my head. I want to say a heck of a lot, especially over the last year. There have been times where I want to just go off and let my partner have a piece of my mind because I'm thinking all those yucky things. I'm really thinking them like they're in my head, but you this and you that and blah, blah, blah. I want to snap my fingers and snap my head back and forth. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to go there, but I recognize that doing that only is going to create more problems. And I recognize that the anger that I'm feeling is about me because everyone's a reflection of us, right? Every person is a reflection of our own issues. So when somebody's making you angry, I say thank you. I don't like to say thank you, but I say thank you because they're giving me a clue of someplace in me that needs to be healed. The anger is a symptom. The anger is a symptom of something that lies beneath the surface that we're not addressing, that's unhealed, or that maybe we're still working on. If you're very aware, then you kind of know, okay, I'm really scared of people leaving me. I have an abandonment issue. So I get extra angry when somebody says X, Y, Z or threatens this or acts this way, and I interpret it as them leaving me. I get angry so that I don't show my vulnerability about being abandoned. And then you can go deeper in that. Why do I have this fear of abandonment? There was in the Doors movie, one of the people in the Doors movie said, there is only love or lack of love. And I really feel like most emotions come from one or the other. They either come from having love or being scared of losing love, or actually losing love, having that lack of love. But that's a whole other topic. So anger is something that we don't talk about in the spiritual community, but needs to be addressed. Because when it comes up in your life, it's a symptom of something that's so much deeper and runs in vines down to a core, down to a root that needs to be ripped out. Not because you won't get angry anymore, but it's the way that you deal with the anger. It's the way that you address those emotions. And the more that you understand why you're reacting in a particular way, the more you can shift your perspective on how to respond and on how to work on the things within yourself, because you're understanding more and more. And I know that Emily's been doing these channeling in the secret group, which I'm going to tell you about in just a minute. She's been doing these channeling things where they're doing DNA activations on our literal thought processes. And one of the things that's been happening, and I don't know if you're noticing it in your life, is that those of us who are awake are processing these issues much faster than we were. I believe in preparation for what's to come, whatever that is. That's above my pay grade. But we're processing things much faster. So if you set your mind to looking at your anger, and you set your mind into looking underneath of your anger, you're going to start to resolve these things so much quicker. And it's going to be so much better for you physically, because they do say that holding on to anger actually can cause dis-ease, right? It can actually cause these pockets of yucky things in your body. That's not my field of study, but that's, according to the stuff that I've read, that's a big part of disease, and which disease you get by what kind of anger you hold on to. It's very fascinating. I was just talking about this yesterday, completely unrelated. I should wrap it up, but completely unrelated, about the fact that we have our emotional body, our light body, and our physical body. And I don't know that those are the right terms. I'm not a girl who's big on semantics. Good morning, Linda. Good morning, Yassine. But the way that I have been told that I'm a simple girl with a simple message. So I've been working so hard on my emotional body and my light body and integrating the two, right? Learning to love myself, because when you love yourself unconditionally, you are embracing the divine within you, and you are merging with the I am, with the great I am, with God, right? So as we go through all these processes with our emotions, which is kind of the thing with Unleash Your Light, overcoming the emotional obstacles that keep us separated from our own divinity, right? So as we overcome these emotions and we start to embrace ourselves, we are literally embracing that divine within us and welcoming it and integrating with it, right? But the thing that I'm leaving out is the physical body. And that needs to be brought into it too. So that's what I think my next journey, like my next, the next level of my personal journey. Anger is a symptom. And when you feel that anger, please go underneath of it. Follow those vines back. Time travel, as I was talking about earlier in the video, time travel back to those moments when you felt like that last, and heal those moments with forgiveness and empathy and compassion. So what all this is about, living our everyday life as the embodiment of unconditional love. You want to call it the Christ consciousness, however it is that you like to do it. But sticking our heads in the sand and refusing to deal with people who make us angry, or refusing to deal with negative people, leaves unhealed places in you. The fire doesn't go out just because we're not looking at it. So I'm going to sit down on my couch and chat about that a little bit. I'm really passionate about it, you guys. So if you don't want to get riled up, don't watch me. But I'm going to go on right after this. You can find me at Lee Cara on Facebook here. I think I'm the only one. And I am so excited to be here with you guys. You can always find me at unleashyourlight.org. I have 2 books there for free. And they are Unleash Your Light and Simple Spirituality of the Self. And there's just a tab at the top, and you can get your PDF copy for free. You don't even have to put in your email address. I'm not even collecting emails. I do have a spot for that if you want to, but I'm not doing anything with them yet. So y'all are safe so far. You can also, if you want to join that secret group I was talking about with the DNA activations and the breathing exercises, and Coach Nick does a show, Mindful Mondays. Emily does guided meditations, all kinds of great stuff in there. And they are doing more and more and more. We're rolling out a new website, which is active, but I didn't want to put it up here because I wasn't sure if we were actually using it yet. You can go to askyourrecords.com. Yes, Linda, absolutely. And if people who know about that and who are practitioners or whatever, reach out to me with information, because that's my next step on the journey. You can go to askyourrecords.com, become a member of the Akashic Academy for $11.11 a month, or $100 a year. That's a bargain. I'm a bargain shopper, so I love doing a bargain, and get all of this extra content. But you can also go to the website and sign up for the newsletter. It comes like once a week, twice a week. It's not a huge amount, as well as they have a quarterly magazine that has great articles in it. I had an article in the last one about loving yourself unconditionally. Hi, Chantel. Thank you so much. Thank you, Linda. And I'm here every Thursday morning, ting, at 10 a.m. Eastern time. I'm on the East Coast of the United States. For those of you on the West Coast, those of you around the world, I know it's a different time for you, but you can just use your little Google and figure out what time that is for you. I love every single one of you. I'm going to go sit on my couch if you want to join me. I'm going to talk about stuff in the world and facing the fire and shifting that energy, because as the light workers, as the energy workers, as those of us who are awake, there's a reason that we're awake, and it's not to sit in a bubble of unicorns and rainbows all the time. Nothing against Rena, who does the Rainbow Bridge. It is so that we can actually shift the energy. But to shift the energy, you have to look at those things that are ugly and dark in this world. Dark. We have to look at those things, and we have to send that energy to those people. Oh, hello, Canada. The fire doesn't go out when you turn your back on it. And the fire is burning in the world. And we have a responsibility to face it. So that's what I'm going to talk about on my couch. I get super fired up about it. It makes my lips work properly. It makes my voice work properly. It makes my brain say the right words. They always give me the right words to say. I love every single one of you. I am way past my time, but I started late today, so it's forgivable. And I hope I see you on the couch. And if not, you can always find copies or replays of these shows on my group, Unleash Your Light, and my page, Unleash Your Light. Are you sensing a pattern here? There's a pattern. Okay, so at noon today, after me, there's Rena with the Rainbow Bridge. And then I believe at 7 o'clock tonight, we're going to have Andrea Jones-Stepnowski. She's going to do Sacred Chakra Flow. It's amazing. And I just love being here with you guys every Thursday morning. I love you, and I will be back here again next week. I hope you have a fabulous weekend. I may go to the movies and watch dinosaurs. I don't know about you guys, but